Hey, what's going on, Pats Nation? Welcome to another edition of the Ken's Pats Talk Patriots podcast. It is a Wednesday, April the 2nd. We are officially about 3 weeks away from the draft. Got a lot of content coming to y'all over the next month or so, or the next few weeks or so, before we get really started with the NFL draft in a few weeks. That's going to be a big week. Today, I do have a special guest, guy Andrew. He came on, I want to say it was the beginning of the year, or probably, I want to say it was a couple months ago. He came on before free agency started. We did like a little free agent preview, best fits and things like that, and we touched briefly on the draft. But tonight we are going to get into the draft. We're going to go over his mock draft. Andrew, what's going on with you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. First, I want to thank you because I know I see you be on Twitter, man. You are very busy at times, so it's good to have you back on. I've always liked some of your content that you post on Twitter. I like your Patriots analysis, and just NFL draft analysis overall, man. But first off, how you been?
I've been great, man, and thank you. I appreciate the kind words. It's been really fun. I'm excited. We're finally in April. We're only a few weeks away, so finally we'll be able to see what the new draft class is looking like.
Yeah, man. And you obviously, I know last time I think we talked about a little bit of free agency, some of your free agency best fits and things like that. How you think the Patriots did during free agency? Me, I give it an A. I'll say a B plus right now. They didn't get. I mean, you got Diggs, you got Morgan Moses. I think you redid your linebacking core. Milton Williams was the biggest signing. I love the Carlton Davis, and on the radar one, I think Harold Landry and Clavon Chason, well, especially Chason. I think Chason's going to play pivotal roles. People don't know last year for the Raiders, he started to come on later on at the end of the season. So I think he's not going to be like an every down player. He's more so going to be like a Josh Uche type of whatnot. But I think he can give you even more than what Josh Uche did. But overall, how you feel that the Patriots did during free agency?
I think it's a solid B plus, A minus, just like you said. I think the main thing was, it was really big that free agency, we knew the class was defense. We knew the best players were on defense. So I was really worried, to be honest, that they were going to really force offense and spend a bunch of money on offense, and it would have been wasted money on older guys, guys with injuries and all that. I think they did the perfect move with Morgan Moses. He's a guy that's going to control that room. He's really going to be able to be a mentor. And then on defense, they got guys at every level, right? Even, Epps, he got injured, but he was a really good guy with the Raiders. And then they got Spillane, who's really he's going to set things up for the defense. He's a tone setter. And obviously, Carlton Davis. I was really a big fan of that move because it means they're going to play a lot more man. And I was worried when Vrabel got here that they were really going to focus on zone, and that's not really the best way to play Gonzo and all that. But I love them playing man with, some people screaming off the edge. Chason, like you mentioned, he has some juice. So that's a really good guy to have there, especially with Keon White in the middle. And if Barmore's healthy, I think this defense could be really good, man.
Me too. I agree, man. All signs point towards Christian Barmore. I think they said he's going to be at voluntary camp. I think that's voluntary practice. I think that's next week, April the 7th. Yes, he's going to be there. I know Josh McDaniels having a press conference tomorrow, so I'm definitely going to check that out. But I like so far what they did. I think overall, I think the pass rush is going to definitely be better. Because they were terrible last year in the pass rush. Run defense was solid, but, after Jawan Bentley left And then Barmore, lost Barmore, lost Peppers. It seemed like right at the middle, the Patriots were kind of bad last year. I think they kind of made up for. You got 9 picks in the draft, which we're about to get into. But I really think you've really solidified most of your needs till you can go best player available in the draft.
100%. I think they did a great job, to be honest with you. They really set up the defense so that they don't need to worry about anything. They can grab whoever's going to be best player available and they'll be great. Really, the only need that they didn't fill was just left tackle. That would have been the difference between being an A for me. But they did a great job overall. I'm really happy with everything they did, and they didn't reach. If they had paid, $15 million a year for Cam Robinson, and that was the difference between them, paying Diggs or not, I think they made the right decision at the end of the day. And that's without us even talking about Milton Williams, right? Who was the biggest free agent signing of them all, who I think between Milton Williams, Keon White, Christian Barmore, that's a front that's going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah. Really is. With the Milton Williams signing, do you think he was a product of what was around him in Philly, or do you actually think he can be that guy for the Patriots? I think he can actually be that guy, because I saw some games last year where he just took over, and like I know Carter and Sweat and Nolan Smith and Grant, those guys were there, but he was making people look crazy, man, at times and whatnot, man. And then look at the D line now. He's gonna have not nearly the talent that they had at Philly, but Barmore. He's gonna have Harold Landry, Keon White. So, and if Milton Williams gets a lot of attention, that's going to open up for Barmore, Keon White, and Harold Landry.
100%. I agree. I think it'll be a little bit, maybe in the middle, right? I don't know if he'll get quite the looks that he did before, but one of the beautiful things is even if he's getting double teamed all the time, that gives an opportunity for Keon White, right? Like at the beginning of last season, those first 3 or 4 games, he was dominating, but then teams realized, wow, he's the only guy they have on the defense, right?
Yeah,
so I think Milton Williams, he was just as much about him putting up stats as it was freeing up everybody around him. And that's really why I think the missing piece on this defense is just getting an edge rusher that's going to be able to, scream off the edge, because you'll be able to really focus on the middle. But right now, I mean, Harold Landry, he's more of a, a leader, mentor type guy at this point of his career. If you can get a young kid with some speed in there, then that'll be something that teams really won't be able to focus towards helping towards the middle.
Agree. Moving on to your mock draft here. It's a few of y'all in here. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure you comment on the stream and whatnot, especially after the stream. I know some of y'all going to tune in later on. Comment, like the stream. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Your mock draft pick right now, all signed. Now it's early. It's crazy to say it's early because we're about 3-4 weeks away. But it seems like every day is changing. One day, I mean, you still got mocks out there with the Patriots getting Travis Hunter. I've seen a mock this morning with we possibly get Abdul Carter. I've been seeing the senses that the main thing I've been saying is the Patriots probably getting a Will Campbell or a tackle or whatnot. Right now, and I know you probably made this mock. This is your latest mock, correct?
Correct, yeah.
And then you got Shelton reporting today says looking like the Giants and the Browns going to pass on the quarterback or whatnot, Shedeur Sanders. Every day it seems like it's something different. Keep in mind, one interesting nugget: Shedeur Sanders has not had his pro day yet. I don't think he's had a top 30 visit with the Giants yet. He hasn't had a private workout. Those things normally happen after the pro day. His pro day is tomorrow or Friday. April the 4th, pro day is Friday. So this thing, we're about to go over the mark as currently of how we feel right now, but these things are scheduled to change and whatnot. But how much of all the talk about Shedeur sliding and whatnot and what the Patriots, how much do you think is smoke, or do you think it's legitimate to it? Like, what's your gut feeling right now? And we're 3 weeks out, it could change next week.
My gut feeling on Shedeur just as a player is I think he'll be kind of an Andy Dalton plus, right? So I think he can be a guy that can bring you to the playoffs. I don't know if he'll be someone that can really, elevate the entire team around him, but I do think he has some good leadership aspects. And I think that's something that people will like in the room, as long as, a coach isn't intimidated by him being someone that's, willing to talk and willing to be outgoing and all that. It's sort of like the Cam Newton thing, right? Where Cam Newton was a big personality. Some teams didn't want to deal with it. But at the end of the day, I think he'll be a good player, and especially if you surround him with some good players, like the New York Giants, right? They have Neighbors, they have Tyrone Tracy.
What I was just about to ask you. I was just about to ask you that. Like, I cannot see the Browns and the Giants passing on him. I just can't see it. That sounds too good to be true.
They have nothing, right? Like I understand they have the Deshaun Watson's contract. They have a bunch of other things they got to deal with, right? But at the end of the day, owners want quarterbacks, fan bases want quarterbacks. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure there to take a quarterback. So I'm kind of in the position where I'll believe it when I see it, right?
Yeah.
And then I think at the end of the day, if it isn't one of those two, then I think it's totally possible, the Saints try to trade up, if they see him start to slide. So the quarterback's definitely not out of the question.
In the Saints' lap, though.
Yeah, that's totally possible, right? But we saw even last year with JJ McCarthy, the Vikings traded up one pick just because they were afraid someone was going to take him. So if you can create some smoke and you make it seem like someone wants to move up for him, there's always an option.
So your gut feeling right now, does he slide? Do you think the Browns or the Giants probably going to get it? What's your gut feeling right now?
My gut feeling is when you're on the clock, it's very different from when you're talking 2 weeks earlier, right? Yeah. So I think one of the two of them is going to cave.
Same here.
I think the Giants are going to freak out and they're just going to be like, I got to get a quarterback or otherwise I'm going to get fired, right?
Yeah.
They're on their last leg. And I think it's also possible, this is something that's been, kind of getting stirred up a little more recently, is I think it's also possible that the Patriots throw a pick at them and make the decision a little easier for them, right? Even if it's, we'll trade you a third and a future third, right? And then that gives them something that they can go back to the owner and say, hey, we wanted, we were on the fence, quarterback or Hunter. Now we get these.
So you're saying picks. The Patriots are, you saying we'll trade up with the Giants and
take
Hunter
to move up one spot.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
And then I think it's worth it for a team. I mean, no matter what happens, if you're going to trade for a wide receiver one, you're going to have to give up picks, right? So I get it. You're only moving up one spot and maybe you give up one or two good picks, but it is what it is, man. You're not going to find Travis Hunter in the next draft. You're not going to find him in this draft if you wait. So I think it's worth it. If they're kind of on the edge, you kind of just push them over it and be like, hey, here's a third and a future third, go back to your owner and make it happen. Go grab Shedeur.
Do you see that being more of a draft day trade or something that might happen anytime now between the draft?
No, I think it's while you're on the clock. I think it's really easy for, Shane and Daboll right now to be like, oh, we're going to create, the best wide receiver tandem in the league. Any quarterback will be able to throw to these guys. Yeah. And then, when that clock starts going down and they're like, God damn, do I want to see, Jameis and all of this? Like, nah, we got to get a real quarterback. And so I think that's how it'll go.
And I think the reason why they signed Winston and Wilson, because they're not sure what the Browns going to do. So they didn't want to be left out. They knew they weren't getting Rodgers. They weren't sure about it. So a lot of people are making a lot of noise about, well, why would they take Shedeur if they already got these two quarterbacks? I think they want to be certain. Jameis Winston is not a 17-game starter. Russell Wilson on his third team in 3 or 4 years now. So I think they just want to be sure, be on the safe side. I've been hearing it. I know I heard it from Schefter, Breer. A lot of people have been saying some of the same thing, but I think that's just like smoke. Because I think Schefter just said last week, I think I shared on Twitter, that he can see the Giants taking Shedeur. Like all the smoke.
He's flip-flopping every day.
Yeah. And then you remember about a month ago, he said that the Browns are for sure taking a quarterback at 2. Now all of a sudden the Browns are going Abdul Carter the past couple of weeks. So I don't think nothing for certain, right? The only thing we know for certain is Cam Ward, 90% chance he's going to Tennessee. But other than that, I think everything's up right now, man. I cannot see the Browns and the Giants passing on a quarterback. I just can't see it.
I agree. I think at the end of the day, I think that they're just going to get cold feet and they're going to say, we got to get a quarterback, and it is what it is.
Yep. Moving on to your mock. Let me see.
What I tried to do with this mock, I tried to make it not what I would do, but more what I think that they would be interested in doing. Mm-hmm. So what I did with every pick, these are all players that they've at least had some kind of connection with. So they've at least met with them at the combine. They've at least met with them, a 30 visit. So some of these players they've even met 2 or 3 times.
They're familiar with them.
Yeah, so they're really trying to do their due diligence. So these are players that I think have a pretty good likelihood that they would be going after.
Yeah, so pick 4. For the first round pick 4, first pick. You got the consensus right now, Will Campbell. And then you got a trade. What's that for the second pick?
Yep. So in the second round pick, so I have them going Will Campbell. We've all talked about Will Campbell. We know how it is.
Okay.
Hopefully he stays as left tackle. I think he's basically Matt Light, to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
think he'll be a, top 12, 15 left tackle, someone who will be just good enough that he'll stay your starter for 10 years, but he'll never be a pro bowler. He might have one pro bowl just
Nate
because
Solder.
Drake
Nate
May is
Solder
awesome.
probably.
Yeah, like Nate Solder, someone like that. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's fine. We need a left tackle. I'm sick of talking about it. So do what you got to do. But what I really see happening in the second round is the Packers. So they've been having a lot of discussions about how they're really in their window right now. They want to get their guy, and they've really been focusing on getting a wide receiver. So if you remember about 3 years ago, they traded from the end of the second round all the way up to the beginning to get Christian Watson. So he tore his ACL, I think, so he's out. I think they end up doing something the exact same thing this year. Maybe they go after like a Jaden Higgins, somebody like that, and then that gives the Patriots the opportunity to trade back, get a guy that they're really interested in, and grab another pick, which is kind of their whole, rebuilding philosophy. So I see them going with Josiah Stewart. He's an edge rusher who I think is
So
literally
real
the
quick.
missing piece.
Real quick, if it's Campbell at 4, how do you see the line look? So you got Campbell, Moses as Campbell left tackle, Morgan Moses right tackle. Your right guard gonna be a Winu.
Yep.
Center's gonna be Bradbury. Left guard, Lady Robinson maybe. Coach
I'm
Strange.
going Layden Robinson. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a big Layden Robinson guy, and I
Yes.
think he started doing a lot better the end of last year. And he
Yeah.
also he has a big wingspan. He's a big, strong guy, so I think it helps with Will Campbell being a little smaller, right? So he'll be able to kind of set the edge a little more, and I think that's a really good pairing. I'm really not worried about left guard, to be
How
honest
do
with
you
you.
feel about that offensive line as a whole? If it goes Campbell, Moses, a Winu, like yeah.
I think that you can be an average line, and that's really all you care about. Like get me to 15 to 20 compared to being like 35 last year. Like
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
even off the list. So I think that that'll be a huge improvement. And for May, that's more than enough time, right? Because we already know from the Brady days, right? Like a quarterback makes an offensive line, right? If as long as Josh McDaniels has it so that he's getting the ball out quick. If it's not there, he's moving the pocket, all that. I think that this will be a perfect line for him. I don't think there'll be any issues.
Round 2, pick 50, was that 54, right?
54, yeah.
Josiah
Yep.
Stewart. I like the player from Michigan. He doesn't get a lot of talk. It's always Mason Graham. I think they got another, I think it's a Grant, I think. Yeah,
Yep.
so,
Kenneth
so
Grant.
it's
Yep.
always Grant. Josiah Stewart. I like the player, man. What you think about that pick?
So the thing that I noticed is a couple months ago, it was all about Mason Graham, right? Before they signed Milton
Mm-hmm.
Williams. So I was watching Mason Graham. And then every time I watched him, I just kept seeing this little dude around the corner just beating everybody. And I remember seeing the Texas game going against Cam Robinson, who's the right tackle. He's like 6'6", 350. And Josiah Stewart was just getting under him and bull rushing him. And that was like, wow, he's a lot more than just speed. And he's really fast. The reason why he's kind of fallen to be like that fringe second round, third round guy is just because he's 6'1", like 240. He's not that big, but he's really fast and he is strong. So as soon as I saw the players on Michigan saying that he was the toughest player on Michigan's team, I immediately knew that's a Vrabel guy right there. So
Yeah.
he's really the missing piece, in my opinion, because Landry's going to be good on early downs. You get Stewart in there on third down with Milton Williams and
He'll be a
Keon White and
pass rusher.
Christian Barmore. Yeah, that's the NASCAR package right there, and I think it'll be great for the defense.
Going back to pick 4 now, Wolf and Vrabel, they have said they've been consistent. They want to go best player available. So if let's just assume Carter and Hunter are gone, if we don't take Campbell, who could you see that best player available being? Could you see them taking a Tet at 4? Maybe I think like an Ashton Genty. I've been falling in love with Genty lately at 4, whatnot. If they stay with the best player available at 4, who could you see that being?
So to me, best player available at 4, just based off my board, it would be Genty, obviously, if you don't take into account positional value. But if you do, I would be a Membu guy. That's who I would take. I think
Okay.
Membu, the only knock that people have on him is he's short. And to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know offensive line that to that extent, but I don't really care if he's short, right? That's fine with me because his feet are amazing. He weighs over 20 pounds more than Will Campbell, and he was faster than him at the combine. Like you can tell this is a man is an athlete, and he's someone that the worst case scenario with Will Campbell is you're moving him to guard. The worst case scenario with Membu is I'm moving him to right tackle next year, and Morgan Moses is 35. That's totally fine. Have him be the backup, be the mentor. You're good. So if it was me, I would try to trade back first, obviously, if you know Carter and Hunter aren't there. But if you can't, then I would be totally fine with going Membu. A Genti, the only scenario that I could see going Genti personally, at least in the top 10, is if you can trade back. If I can get like an extra second round pick, then you know I take Genti at like 8 maybe, then that's cool with me. I would take that risk just because then I'm using those second round picks. I'll package a second and a third. I'll move up, get my left tackle, and then it's kind of, you know, that double dip right there. But I think that at the end of the day, I don't think they'll have it in them to do that. I think they're just going to go the easy pick and they're going to go Will Campbell,
So
especially with his leadership aspect. Nah, I'm not really a huge tech guy. I think he's fine, but there's other players that I would like in the draft better, especially if you're top 10.
Pick 69, Dylan Sampson. I think he visited with us. Was it last week or the week before?
So they've actually met with Dylan Sampson 3 times. So I think if they're going to end up going with a running back, I think this is going to be their top guy. He's 5'8". He's a 4'4" guy. Mm-hmm. The thing I like about him is he really manages his tempo, right? So like when he's really patient, he doesn't always have the best vision, but when he gets through the line, he can really he can slow pace it and then just burst. It's bam. He's right out there. He tries in pass protection. He's 5'8", right? So he's not, but he is around 200 pounds. But the thing I like is he does put in effort in pass protection. So I think that's something that Josh would appreciate and he would help him with. But he's a burner. And based off of everything we've seen just at the owners' meetings, I mean, even Kraft dropped it that they want a speed back.
They look at a running back.
So they definitely want a running back. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that they take 2 running backs, right? If they don't go for someone, you know, in the top 50, like a Hampton or a Judkins, someone like that, I think they try to add 2 guys, you know, early and late, similar to what they did in, you know, 2022 when they went Pierre Strong and, you know, Kevin Harris. I think that they could do something like that again.
Agreed there. Pick 77, Mason Taylor. Do you think he'll be there at 77? Because I
think it's the fringe of where he could be. I think he ends up going, you know, either late day 2, late second round, early third round. But for me, this is really more of a pick that's based off what they've been doing, right? So like Vrabel talked about him a lot. But for me, I think at the end of the day, he's probably a tight end 2, in my opinion. I don't think he's like an elite player. I think that he's very much one of those, a steady Eddie, right? I think he'll be in the league for a decade, maybe put up 500 yards a year, an average blocker, relatively athletic. I don't think he'll be amazing, but I think it's someone that, especially a guy like Vrabel, he's going to like the football lineage. Like he likes Jason Taylor. He went to the combine with him. You know, I think that he'll have a lot of background with him on how he's a good team player. He's a good leader. And that's the type of guy that he's been bringing in. And I think he'll want him.
At pick 87, you got Wyatt Millam out of West Virginia. So you're addressing the offensive line again.
Yep. So for me, the nice thing is I like Wyatt Millam because he can play all 5 positions, right? Yeah. So at the Senior Bowl, he was already doing some work at center, and that's where I'd be putting him. This is my center right here. He's really athletic. I think you have a perfect opportunity to take a tackle and convert him to center. It would either be, for me, you know, Millam or Membu, but Membu's going to go earlier. The nice thing with him is he doesn't have to start year 1, right? They gave Bradbury some money. You can ease him into the transition. If he plays a little bit of guard, if he plays a little bit of tackle, that's totally fine because he's used to kind of doing a little bit of everything, and he's really athletic. So I like his potential a lot at that pick.
Round 4, my favorite pick when I looked over this mark when you sent it to me, Cal Williams. He's been coming on. I think he visited with the Patriots last week. So they've been busy with a lot of these guys. I like the theme of your mock draft, Cal Williams. Man, I think, how can I say it? He's explosive. He's not, I ain't gonna say he's a burner, but he just does everything right. And I think he's a plug and play guy like we thought Jalen Pope would be last year. I really can see it on film with Cal Williams, man. He's been getting a lot of steam lately.
Yeah, I agree. And they met with him 3 times. They met with him at the Senior Bowl, the Combine, and they had him for the 30 visit. I think this is like the absolute edge of where he would be picked. I think he ends up going in round 3. Yeah, I think he ends up going in the second round or the third round, like late, like anywhere from like 20 to 80, right? Because everyone seems to love him now, especially after Chris Sims started talking about him.
Yeah.
So I think he's an amazing route runner. I think he's really good. He's very explosive. His cuts are really good. I think he's a guy that, like you said, plug and play. And the beautiful thing is he's going to play on the outside, right?
Yeah.
So he can play outside and inside, and it really gives you an opportunity that, you can have Diggs play in the slot if you need to. You can have Williams at the Z. You can have Polk play in the slot. You can have, whoever you want. And this is someone that Josh McDaniels is going to like because his biggest thing is versatility. He wants
Moving
people that can
around.
play all three positions. Depending on the matchup, he can move them around. And I mean, he ran a 4.4 flat, right? So he's definitely quick. He won't have any problems about him taking the top off the defense. And I think he's somebody that can play day one.
Love it, man. Love it. Pick round 5, pick 144. Another day 3 pick. Another running back from Rutgers, Cal Munagai. I hope I said that right.
Kyle Manungai. So he came. He's from Rutgers. I've been watching him for a few years now. The thing that I love about him is he runs angry, right? So like he runs like you can tell it's like he has a vendetta against everybody, and I think that's the type of guy that they're gonna like. He ended up running actually a lot quicker than I thought. It was like a 4.55, something like that. And he's like 220 pounds. He's only like 5'8", so he is like built, and he is amazing in pass protection. He's really good there. I mean, you see him all the time, just flipping people over him, taking people out. And he's a lot quicker than people thought. I think he's a guy that would really fight for, taking carries away from Stevenson and Gibson. And I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day, they keep 4 running backs on the 53, just because you don't know what's going to happen with Stevenson's fumbles. Gibson always fumbled, that like back in when he was in Washington. Dylan Sampson had a little bit of a fumble history too, but this is a guy who in 4 years, I think the stat was he's only fumbled once in 4 years. And it hasn't been in like over 2 years since he's fumbled. So he is exactly what they would want. And I think that's someone they're definitely going to be looking at. And they've already met with him twice.
All right, the first of the 3 7-round picks, you got cornerback out of UCF, Mac McWilliams.
Yep. So Mac McWilliams, the big thing with him is he's small, right? He's like 5'9", I believe. He's not an amazing athlete, but he's somebody that I think will end up getting converted to the slot. He's a real tough player, which I like. And I think he's somebody that they're going to end up liking, even if year one he's kind of on special teams, right? And he's kind of an insurance policy for Marcus Jones, right? At the end of the day. And I think that on day 3, this isn't an amazing cornerback draft. There weren't a bunch of guys that really, kind of caught my eye. But the fact that they met with McWilliams twice was someone I think they'll definitely have on their radar.
And we've been pretty good at developing corners too. We really have those late round corners.
Yep. I hope that they can still do it now that Pellegrino's gone.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
See, yeah.
The second of the 7-round picks at pick 220, you got Nazir Stackhouse, defensive lineman out of Georgia.
Yep. So the big thing I like about Stackhouse is he's kind of the opposite of what they got in free agency, right? Their big thing is penetrating, get after the quarterback. Stackhouse is a guy who he's going to be your nose tackle. He's like 320, 325. He's going to stop the run. He's not going to do anything else. So he's a guy that you're going to be able to get some value out of a 7th-round pick. So he might play, 20% of the snaps against, teams that want to run. When you have to play the Ravens or somebody else, you need someone who's going to be able to stop the run. And right now, you just got a bunch of guys that are like 280 in the middle that are going to get run over by, a running back. So I think he's a guy that could actually make the 53, and I think they'll be looking at him.
The last pick of the NFL draft for the Patriots. Keep in mind with the draft, we always can trade back like we saw up there and get more picks and things like that. So right now we do have 9 total picks, but it could be more picks today. You could trade back, gain capital, whatnot. Final pick, you got to get a kick, got to get a specialist. You got Ben Sauls out of Pittsburgh.
Yes, sir. So they met with him once, I believe, at the Combine. The main thing is it kind of just goes back to the old Belichick thing. You want to get kickers that play in bad weather, right? Right now, they only have one kicker who was on their practice squad last year. They let Joey Sly walk. So in my opinion, they're either going to do one of two things. They're going to grab a guy on day 3, or more than likely, they're going to grab someone from the UFL. Whoever's the best kicker in the UFL, they'll grab him and, hope for the best. But when it comes to kickers in the draft, from what I've seen, it's either Ben Sauls or that kid from Miami, and I'm gonna take a gamble on the kid from Pittsburgh because Miami does not have New England weather. So.
And when you're picking in the draft, we got 4 top 100 picks. You want to hit on those 4 picks. Now, you know, the draft is long. You get a lot of people. You're not going to hit all your picks. Some of these picks probably won't even make the team or whatnot. That's normally how it goes. But you want to hit on, because you got 4 top 100. If you can hit on all 4 of those picks, like, okay, let's just
Even
say
if you hit on 3 of them.
But yeah, 3 of them. 3 of them. If let's just say you miss it on Travis Hunter, but you get a tackle. Okay, you get a running back that contributes year 1. You get a pass rusher that contributes year 1. And let's just say you get a let's say Cal Williams contributes or whatnot. He might be a day 3 pick or whatnot. You've really improved this football team. This whole mock draft, which pick really stands out to you the most? What's your favorite pick for this whole mock?
Oh man, to be honest, the realistic pick would be Campbell, just because the left tackle was so bad. But the guy that would get me the most excited would be Dylan Sampson, because I think he's a guy who you'll see Drake May will be able to throw some bombs, and then the team, they'll lighten the box a little bit and he'll take it for 40, 50. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that they haven't had in years. They have not had running backs that have been capable of kind of doing that. And I think that he would be a fan favorite from day one. And I think if they paired with what they did in free agency, if, 3 of these guys are hits, I think they're knocking on the door for being a wild card.
Me too. I was just about to ask you about that. Now you did say that this is your mark. You sent this to me earlier the week before I had you on the show. You did say your gut feeling is a Giants still will take Shedeur Sanders or whatnot. So assuming you probably think the Patriots grab Travis Hunter if he's there at 4. How sure are you of that right now? I know we 3 weeks out, and if we was to get Hunter, what's your depth chart wide receiver? Because somebody's going to be the odd man out.
Oof. So my gut is it's 50-50 right now. It's going to depend on the owner, to be honest, John Mara. If he ends up giving them the assurances that they're not going to get fired if they don't take a quarterback, and he's going to give them more time, then I think that they will probably skip out because they probably want someone better in the top 5. But if they don't have the assurances that they're going to be back after this year, I think they're going to make it happen. They're going to grab a quarterback.
And you're leaning towards that right now?
Yeah, I'm leaning. It's maybe 60-40 that they go quarterback, and I think Travis Hunter will be there. And I think based off of the way Vrabel talked, he'd probably play like 95% wide receiver year 1. And then they would kind of, maybe year 2, once he's kind of feeling things out, he would get a little bit of corner or maybe safety, something in there. But I think that day 1, he'd be starting, and it would be the end of the depth chart that would be fighting, right? I think that KB would be on the block. Yeah, I think more than likely, I think they would probably be looking for him to be traded, just because if any of the young guys have an opportunity, right, it's going to be KB or Baker, in my opinion. Either Baker's going to, be a guy who breaks out in camp and he'll be here for a while, or I think he'll flame out instantly.
It's a huge offseason. I think they'd keep Pope no matter what. But I think it's a huge offseason for Javon Baker, starting next week at voluntary workouts.
100%.
He has to be there. He can't be late. Some people it's voluntary, but I think it's mandatory for players like him.
100%. Yeah. Vrabel's going to care about that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's big.
Yeah. Do you think? I think they're still even if they get Hunter, I think they're a little small at receiver though. You got Diggs, not really huge. Hunter's not huge. You got Boutte, you got Pop still, Mac Hollins, but he's it's a 1-year deal, 30-something years old. I still think they're kind of small at receiver, but I think McDaniel's going to. You have a lot of playmakers. He's probably could be the best skill position quarter Patriots have had in years. And I think the person that would benefit the most, let's just say you draft Hunter. Hunter probably going to play a Z. Diggs probably at X. Pop in the slot. Your 4th receiver probably Pope, between Pope and Boutte. And Matt Hall, I think Matt Hall's a made team because he's a specialist or whatnot. I think who you think benefits the most from us drafting Travis Hunter and having Stephon Diggs? I think it's Pop Douglas.
I think it's actually pretty even between Pop Douglas and Mac Hollins, just because, like you had mentioned, the size ends up kind of being a thing, right? And I think that that'll be something that Josh will try to get matchups with Matt Collins, right? So he'll try to move things around so that he can either get some jump ball opportunities for Matt Collins, or he can use Matt Collins as an opportunity to get him on some speedier corners and kind of make him the sacrificial X, have him run wind sprints, and then make it so that, you know, he can get free opportunities for Diggs or Hunter and kind of just move them around as chess pieces. But I think it'll really be matchup based, right? Like a lot of teams now are small. Like look at Miami's wide receivers. They're all small and they're all light. So I don't think that's really a major issue. I think it just depends on matchups. And that's why I actually really like the Matt Collins signing. I think he's a guy that not only is he a mentor, he's a leader, but against teams that have these really small corners, he's a guy you can just, you know, have him run 10 yards, do a jump ball, boom, there's a first down. So I think he has value.
Do you think Jalen Pope has a bounce back year? I think he can't be no worse than he was last year.
He definitely can't be worse, but I do think he has a bounce back year. I think that he's going to end up playing, you know, he might play a little bit of X still, just depending on matchups, but I think he'll mainly play in the slot. He'll be Jacoby Myers, right? Like I think Josh McDaniels is the guy who's going to know how to play him. And if everything works out, then I think that Pop will be the one that plays less snaps, but he'll be someone that his snaps are more impactful, right? Like, so maybe it ends up being that he plays 20% less snaps, but when he's playing the snaps, like, you know, it's in spread formations, he's getting the ball, he's out and, you know, creating yak opportunities and all that. Because at the end of the day, he is small, right? He's not a guy you want to be like, if you have a good wide receiver core, he's not your top 3 wide receivers, right? He'd really, really be a 4th wide receiver. And I think that he can kind of maximize his opportunities there.
What number you think Hunter gets if we do draft him? I've been thinking about it. I don't know.
Man, there's like no numbers left. That's the problem. Especially the low numbers. Diggs, I mean, do we know what Diggs is doing yet? Is he going to go for 8?
I think I saw something earlier that he was going to get 8, but I don't think that's official.
Because I think that's like the only single digit.
I don't know what Hunter. I would say 2, but I think Landry has that, right?
Yeah, 2's already taken. The only single digit that's left is 8. And then I think something like 16, maybe 16 or 18, one of those. But I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, if Hunter ends up trying to buy a number off somebody. I don't see him in like a 16 or something like that.
What about 18?
You think that they give it up already to Matt Slater?
I mean, Slater, right? Slater had 18, right?
Yeah, it's been a couple. They didn't use it last year, so maybe that's their little tribute. They hold out for a year and then they give it up again. I could see that working.
Real quick before I get you, I forgot to ask you about if somehow Abdul Carter fell to 4. It's Carter and it's Campbell and Membo on the board. You're obviously probably gonna go Carter, right?
So what I would do is I would want to take Carter, but I would answer the calls, right? Like I would see if a team's going to give me a first for next year, right? Like the team that we always hear about is the Bears, right? They have 2 second-round picks. They have, you know, they're really going after it year 1. If they were being a team that would give me a second and a first next year, I would probably do it just because this team has a bunch of needs and I can use that first next year to get, you know, a wide receiver 1 or someone like that. And I know I can still get a left tackle at 10, even if it's a Kelvin Banks or somebody like that. But 90% chance I'd be going Carter right there.
Yeah, man. Oh my God. Could you imagine that defensive line with Carter and Landry and Chason and Milton Williams and Barmore, White?
Oh, the defense would be stacked.
Oh my gosh. You can never have enough pass rush.
100%. I agree.
You can never have too much pass rush, man. Oh man, it's draft is what, about 22 days away? I think I seen earlier today.
Yep. 24th.
Andrew, love your analysis. Love you. Appreciate you taking time to come on, man. I reached out to you, so it was pretty good to have you on, man. I enjoyed every bit of this show. I appreciate. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you'd like to call it. It's Andrew A. DeSilva. I'm always on there. I'm always talking about you know, whatever's going on with the Patriots, whatever's going on with the draft. So, you know, feel free to reach out and we'll chat.
Appreciate it, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe button, and make sure you share the content, man. I really appreciate it. Andrew, maybe we could do it again after do a post draft recap or something. Like do like a draft recap or something like that.
100%, man. I look forward to it.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Bye.